Welcome back to the Behind the Well Show. Your host, Roger Abel, here with Elias Randall. Eli ran by a article, CNBC, the other day. We've been talking about phantom debt, buy now, pay later recently. Mm-hmm. And one of the issues I brought up was, this wasn't being reported to credit agencies. So there's really no way to know how much of this debt was out there. They could be coming for them now. They may be affecting your credit at some point in the future.
They probably should.
One of the people that first started reporting to Experian their buy now, pay later data was Apple. I didn't even know Apple had buy now, pay later.
I'm sure everyone does.
I would guess. But, I raised this question a while ago. Are people utilizing buy now, pay later out of convenience, or are they utilizing it because they're tapped out on another credit and debt, and their credit's so bad that if they applied for a credit card, they wouldn't get buy now, they wouldn't be approved for the buy now, pay later?
That's a good question.
I
probably
feel like
a combination of both. I don't know.
I feel like the data of where credit cards are at, balances, delinquencies are at, lends itself to the idea that people are tapped out. So this is the next place to go for credit that doesn't have any consequences. The flip side of that, as a consumer, and in full disclosure, I've never used buy now, pay later because I didn't know really how it worked. Understanding that it doesn't affect your credit at this point, there's part of me at a consumer level that says, well, if I needed to put it over 4 installments, why wouldn't I use that versus going and inquiring for some line of credit that affects my credit score?
Yeah, so it's probably a combination, right? People are tapped out. There's also probably a convenience thing where there's no credit app or anything. You just get the item and you make your installment payments, so it's a lot easier.
Is there interest on it? I think some of these are interest-free.
I'm sure it's all built in.
Somehow they're building into it.
And it doesn't the companies don't care. They just want you to buy the product. And however they're making their money, they're making it. But I don't know. I don't think that you probably pay more. You probably just pay more for the item.
What's it going to do if all of a sudden we learn that as a society, our borrowers who've been utilizing credit cards and are tapped out, now buy now, pay later starts reporting to credit? What if there's this mass amount of borrowers that can't spend money because they have zero credit?
It could happen.
How big is it though?
Oh, shoot. I don't know.
I'm just and is it
there's going to be people that it's going to make their credit score worse. There will be people that then they won't be able to borrow any money. I mean, most likely if you're doing, I think when you commented on, if you're doing buy now, pay later, you're probably tapped out already. So how are you going to access more credit if you're doing that? Because you don't have access to any other credit.
Okay, then what happens with that same person who now being reported to the credit bureaus? They're completely tapped out. They have a line of credit for $200,000 on their house because the value of their home went up. And now the bank wants to go redo the line of credit. What happens if they don't get approved? What happens if they're so tapped out they can't get re-upped in that line of credit because the unknown phantom debt that's sitting out there and buy now, pay later?
Now you have a problem on your hands.
There's always a canary in the coal mine somewhere.
Yeah.
And we brought that up on a previous episode.
I think people will be using their home equity to consolidate outside debt.
What if they're tapped out? I think a lot of people are tapped out in their home equity
already.
Well, they're marketing it. All these companies market it to you. Cash out refinance. You have $47,000 of equity you could get today.
Dude, you know what? It makes sense to just not even get involved in all this silly stuff. And the funny business, dude, if you at some point, if that's the situation you're in, you got to quit borrowing money. You got to stop paying for stuff on your credit cards. You got to be an adult with your money.
And buy now, pay later is a credit card. They might not call it that. It's the same thing.
I don't even understand how they're getting away with doing it. How do you do buy now, pay later, no credit check or anything like that?
Well, I mean, you're a lending institution. Are you required to do a credit check? I don't think so. But I think it's harder to determine who's actually going to pay you back. But the scary thing is none of it's reported to credit card agencies. None of it's reported to credit agencies. So I don't know. I just got thinking about that the other day. We've been talking about it, and I saw this article come out talking about how Apple's going to start reporting to the credit to the credit card bureaus, or the credit bureaus, I should say, Equifax and Experian. But I thought it would be fun today. I brought up in the last show the biography of King Richard, which is the father of Serena and Venus Williams. Which, before we get into this, I want to know how much research you did outside of the show. Who is the better tennis player, Venus or Serena, in the course of their professional career?
Well, Serena Williams is.
Serena, yeah, by far. Which is ironic because in the movie, the lead player was Venus.
She's older, right?
Yeah. And then I thought the ironic part in the movie is when King Richard said, well, she's the best female player, but you're going to be the best player in the world. Told that to his younger daughter.
Yeah,
Serena. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was a really interesting film. I'm really surprised. I'm surprised I'd never heard of it. Had never heard of it until you told me about it. And then in our outline here, we have like some of their. Apparently, it flopped in the box office. They must not have marketed this film. How do you never hear about a film about the two best tennis players ever?
No.
And how they grew up. But I've never heard of this until it came on Netflix.
It got canceled.
And Will Smith is in it.
It got canceled because of Will Smith.
Is that what happened?
This film came out after the Chris Rock.
When he got slapped?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if maybe that.
Will Smith got canceled. That's what happened.
And then they just didn't promote the. But it's a good movie.
Had that not have happened, my guess is this was a box office sensation.
Yeah.
People look at Will Smith differently, whether right or wrong. My wife, we used to really like Will Smith. Now he's known as he's the guy who beat up Chris Rock. Last night, have you watched the Tom Brady roast yet?
Just clips, highlights of it, not the whole thing.
So Megan's watched it like twice now. I've fallen asleep both times, just late at night. And she references, there's a time in there where one of the comedians said something about Kraft. Is that the owner? And my wife's
Robert Kraft, yeah.
And my wife goes, I thought Tom Brady was going to have a Will Smith moment.
So I saw an interview about that. So apparently all the comedians were told that the Robert Kraft jokes are not on the table. Because I'm sure, Tom Brady and him have a good relationship, and Tom wanted him to come to the event, and he probably said no because they're just going to make fun of me for my massage I was getting.
Which they did.
and I think that was an agreement among everyone that you can't do that because he agreed to come to the event. We're not going to embarrass him.
Oh, Kraft was there?
Yeah, he was in the audience.
Oh, no.
And they were under the understanding that there would be no jokes like that. And then the one comedian, Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross made the joke. But it wasn't it was like Bert Kreischer. Anyway, I saw someone else being asked about it, and they said, well, we all did agree that was off the table for that because that's the only way that Robert Kraft agreed with Tom to actually come to the event.
Well, otherwise it would just turn into those jokes. I mean.
Oh, yeah, the guy would have been. He's embarrassed enough already.
But back to the Will Smith. Yeah. Think about that. It's now known that was a Will Smith moment. Like, it could have been a Will Smith moment. Going to slap him. But, I think the thing I took away from the film, the number one thing, is he had a plan for his kids' success, not when they were 5 and 6, before they were born. Think about that. Like, what if you had a plan for your kids' retirement before they were born?
I mean, it'd probably work.
Think about it. What if you started investing for your kids' retirement from the day they were born? 60 years of compounding. It would be very easy to create some massive wealth for your kids without sacrificing a whole lot on your end.
So did he have, I watched the movie, and he references his plan. Was there actually a written plan? Did they show it?
76-page written plan.
Is that at the end?
Nah, it's when he's actually going around to some of the coaches. He's like, I've had a 76-page written plan for these girls before they were born. Because it's when they're trying, because remember, they didn't have any money, so they were trying to get a coach for free. So he had like a brochure and a pitch deck and videos. And he's like, I've had a 76-page plan for these kids and how they're going to win Wimbledon before they were born.
Okay, yeah. And then he just he says, I've had a plan for this throughout the movie. Yeah, I think if you, here's what I know. If you had that same focus on your financial planning, it would all work the way you wanted it to. Certainly.
Maybe we should
be a lot easier to be successful with your money than it is to win Wimbledon, I'm sure.
So let me ask you a question. As part of your high school graduation or your college graduation, and we made personal finance an integral part of our education system, and we require kids to write a 25-page essay about how they're going to accomplish financial freedom, would we be better off or worse off as a society if we made them put that level of thought and effort into something like we would for another class? I mean, let's be honest, right? There's classes that require giant essays to graduate college, but we don't have anything out there that says, let's put something together about your future life path. Or maybe we should have kids start planning for, why am I going to school and borrowing this debt? What's the plan once I'm done? What's the end game? Like most things in life, if you have a plan, it would work really, really well. There's actually a study done in 2022. It's from a place called Hearts and Wallets, The Power of Planning. And 4 of 5 U.S. households say they think about working towards long-term financial goals. Half have a plan. However, only 1/3 of those household plans report having written plans. If you don't write it down, it's not real. There's 2 ways that a goal or a plan becomes real. You write it down, or a public announcement. Right? If you tell somebody you're doing something, a public commitment, that's pretty similar to writing it down.
Yeah, I mean, it could be more. Could be more serious because now you told someone.
Once you tell someone, now you have accountability.
They're going to expect that you do it.
They're going to ask if you've done it, and if you haven't, why haven't you done it?
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? The financial professionals at Premier Investments and Wealth Management are the guides you've been looking for. Picture this, a financial plan tailored exclusively to you. Our team of experienced professionals will work closely with you to understand your aspirations and develop a personalized roadmap to get you there. Whether you're dreaming of retirement, buying a new home, or sending your kids to college, we've got the tools to give you confidence in your financial life. We'll help you navigate saving and investing, retirement income, and tax strategies. Our job is not just about making money. It's about helping our clients make smart choices. We'll provide you with the tools and knowledge to confidently steer your financial ship toward a brighter future. Are you ready to embark on your financial journey with confidence? Visit www.btwealthshow.com or click the link in the description of this podcast. Your financial future awaits.
Americans with a written plan have more success across income levels. More than 52% of households with written plans save 10% of their income. Only 36% of households save 10% of their income with unwritten plans. Got to write this stuff down. When I was in high school, we had a baseball coach. And before the season, you had to set 3 team goals, 3 personal goals. And guess what you're supposed to do?
Tape it in your locker?
Write it down in 3 places.
Oh.
And do you know where the 3 places were? He believed in the power of 3. Guess where the 3 places were? Your locker, the bill of your cap, and the mirror in your bathroom. Impossible to not see those every single day.
Yeah.
And you
that's
see them
pretty
3
good.
times a day or more. Written plan. Well, if your goal is to take an extra hour of batting practice, and you get up in the morning and you see it in your mirror, like, oh yeah, I need an extra hour of batting practice. Put your hat and be like, oh, extra hour of batting practice. Get to practice, extra hour of batting practice. Like, all those goals are just sitting there. You're much more likely to accomplish them when you're constantly seeing them. It's so easy to forget about things.
It is. You'll have more consistency too, which I would say outside of their dad's kind of vision for Venus and Serena Williams. I mean, were very consistent. Like, they practiced all the time, and they didn't play other sports. They played tennis, and they were consistently practicing. And I actually was shocked when Venus, I didn't know this, but Venus Williams took 3 years off from playing competitive matches to just practice.
Was it only 3 years, or was it more?
I don't know.
I thought it was like from 13 to 20 something.
But
Could have been.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of good lesson in that of she wasn't competing in the matches, but she was still working on her skills and was still able to play competitively after that and do very well. So I just think in anything, consistency with your financial goals, what your money behavior, just consistency is going to be the thing that takes you to the end goal and gets you there.
You know what's so funny about there's so many parallels between what you just said, youth sports and finances. The route that Serena Williams took, that her dad made her take, of not playing matches and just practicing, is the no glamour route, right? Like, there's no reward. We're just practicing, which is making you inherently much better. Think about kid sports today. Travel baseball at 9 years old and 10 years old. And I don't know if I've even ever talked to you about this, but I know people who believe your kids have to start doing this stuff at 6 years old and all this crap, all this organized athletics. Sorry if people are into it. You want to know how I know it doesn't work?
Yeah, I do want to know. I think I know why it doesn't
The
work.
majority of Major League Baseball players are not from the United States. They're from the Dominican Republic. Do you know what kind of organized sports they have there?
Probably the dads in the neighborhood just go
Zero.
play baseball.
They go
with them.
play baseball at the Sandlot. And I had this discussion with my wife the other night talking about, well, you got to get them involved in this. I said, so let me ask you a question. We go to a softball tournament to get 14 at-bats and pitch 2 innings with an 8-year-old girl. Or are you better off at home like Venus and Serena Williams, practicing for 3 hours each day and getting 1,000 quality swings over the weekend, making X amount of very meaningful pitches? You are better off. But we've turned youth athletics into this massive, massive revenue thing that everybody thinks your kid has to be involved. At some level, kids are good enough to do it or they're not. How many basketball players in the NBA that didn't start playing basketball until they were in high school? There's a number of NBA players.
There's Hall of Famers that didn't
Picked up a
play
ball at
until they were in
12.
high school.
Yeah,
Dennis Rodman didn't start playing basketball until he was like 19 or 20 years old.
That's, if you got it, you got it. There's a level of work and coaching and effort that goes into it. But my point is, if your finances are not glitzy and glamorous, you're just doing all the in the work trenches like these Williams sisters did. Look what their result was. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's starting a plan early, and like when you relate it to money, well, if you start building good savings habits, right? Your good habits are going to be way more beneficial than any investment you pick or any strategy and all that stuff. And I think, and over the long term, if you stay committed to certain basic principles, and I think about like process and not skipping the process. So I have a young family that I just onboarded with our firm. They're doing a great job saving. The one thing that they probably do that I would consider a bad habit, and was the main thing I spoke with them about, was they take money out of their emergency fund to go on vacation once or twice a year, and then they refill the emergency fund. And is that the biggest issue in the world? No. But what do we know about people who are successful with money? The emergency fund is the emergency fund, and the vacation money is separate, right? So, but we can't skip like those building blocks of the process, and we can't be great savers in our 401ks and our Roths and then not use the emergency fund correctly, right? You got to define what is each bucket, what is it for, and then stick to that. And that's just sticking to the basics, right? That's like, I would say they're more advanced for their age as far as net worth and stuff, but that's a really basic conversation to have with someone. The most important thing I can help you with is to guide you on how you treat your emergency fund.
And all they probably have to do is wait like 6 months.
Right.
It's a little patience. They need to say, okay, hey, emergency fund's done. Instead of taking the trip, just save for 6 more months, get the trip done, and then we're out of the cycle. But they're in the cycle.
Yeah, they just want to do it now because they planning it.
The cycle's going to be hard to break. The cycle. Once they break the cycle, they'll never go back to it again.
Right. Right. But what I want to, and what my responsibility and what I want to help them avoid is, okay, you just took $15,000 out of your emergency fund to go on vacation. You come home, it's summertime, your air conditioner is now not working. Oh, in addition to the air conditioner not working, the washer went out, right? Because like if that's the type of stuff that happens, well, next thing you know, now you don't have an emergency fund. So now your other good habits are at risk of not being followed through on.
Well, I think the other thing too, which, Richard in the movie did a good job of hyping up his kids, right? Giving them motivation, reminding them of their potential, making sure people knew who they were. And it was like almost this mysterious aura about them. And you kind of think a little bit about what we do for people. Part of what we do is help hype them up. Right, you're doing good.
Yep.
Well, you're doing good.
No,
we give them encouragement. We keep them going because there's where they're at, there's the gain, and they're still living in the gap of where they want to go. You got to keep motivated to keep getting to the end goal. I mean, if you're 35, we did we do the podcast last week about how saving money is really boring up until like $500,000 or something.
Yeah, in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so let's say you're a person saving 15% of your check. You just started out, and the market makes 10%. So your account went from 15,000 to 16. You're like that's
your
boring.
life is still the same.
Like, it's boring. There's no
Nothing's
hype.
different.
There's no. But it's people like us that get in the trench. And say, hey, look, you are kicking butt. Here's what it looks like if we project this out through the financial planning software over the next 35 years. It's our job to hype up where they can get, as long as it's in an appropriate manner. It's not to like give a rosy picture, but it's to keep providing constant encouragement about getting there. And everybody likes that. Everybody wants to know that there's a really great possibility at the end of the road.
Yes, they do. And people are built up. People are built up by encouragement more than, kind of condoning behavior, which I felt in that movie. You can learn a lot from just positive self-talk and the affirmations, and it's really unrealistic to believe you're going to have 2 daughters that are world champion level tennis players. But if you practice as much as they practice, and all you ever heard growing up is you're going to be a champion. Like those girls probably never thought, oh, I hope I win Wimbledon, or I hope I'm a champion. They probably just woke up every day and thought, I'm a champion. That's just how I do it. Now it's a little bit, that's not realistic for everyone, but even in your, in your financial life, you can think, okay, I am, I'm on my way to being wealthy someday by doing these basic things right. And you can start to believe that.
Another big takeaway I had from the show, Elias, and that persistence just pays off. When Richard was going around to the different coaches, he never accepted no for an answer. You know, I remember when he left the first coach, he goes, well, who else are you going to find this to coach your daughters for free? He goes, well, I found you. And he went on to the next coach. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, no one else is going to coach these girls for free. He goes, well, I found you. And went on to the next coach. And it just kind of shows that every no you get brings you closer to the eventual yes. We say that a lot. We're in the business that early on when you start in our industry, you get rejected a ton. You know, you're always one closer to a yes. You know, when we're helping people with their finances, it's the same thing. Like, we're able to help people that are persistent about not wanting to fail get to their end goal. Just the persistency that he had and his girls had was amazing in the show. I mean, think about that. Just all those years with no recognition, no benefit, we just keep clicking along and going.
Yeah, to me, it makes me think about probably where younger families are in their financial journey. Like even my family where, you know, we've kind of gotten to a place where the savings is a priority, but it's harder now than it was before because we have 3 kids and our life is more expensive, right? So, like, you almost have times where you just got to get through it. But if you're persistent and you keep doing those things, like, there will be a payoff for it. But when you have kids and activities and the thing with activities and all the stuff that comes with running a family, it's not necessarily each thing that's expensive, but it's everything that goes with it. It's that you have to order food out because you're out late. It's the extra gas because you're filling up your vehicles more often to go do all this stuff. And then even with, you know, everything's more expensive now. We've had record inflation, and we're always going to have some level of inflation anyway, but things are not going to get cheaper. But if you can be persistent on, hey, my savings is going to be a priority and I'm going to do it, you know, a lot of times the payoff at the end of the day, it's worth doing all that.
I also realized from it that losing in a way is kind of winning. And, you know, I think it was the last match where Venus won a couple of games coming in and then lost in the last match. And when she walked back on the stadium, there were people like cheering for her, even though she lost, right? She didn't win the match, but there were all these people outside the stadium cheering for her when she left. And when it comes to investing, it's kind of the same thing. Like, think about 2022. If you exhibited good investor behavior, you lost. But if you kept doing the right mechanics of investing, your dollar cost averaging, you're taking advantage of buying when the market's on sale, at the end of 2023, you were cheering for yourself. You're going, man, that was awesome. I made all that money back plus some because I was just doing good investor behavior stuff. It's the same thing where Venus Williams didn't concentrate on losing that one match. I'm sure it hurt and she didn't want to lose it. But they kept focusing on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we're going to be successful because of all the things that we've put into place in the past, persistence and goals and understanding that we're not going to win every single time. There's nobody out there who's picked a winning investment every single time, unless they've just picked one and got lucky. Warren Buffett, not every single thing he's bought has been a winner. Not every one.
No, but a lot more winners than losers. But not all of them are winners.
I got a buddy who was a day trader. He used to trade the Treasury yield curve. And he once told me, he goes, I'm just trying to win 6 out of 10 times. Win 6, lose 4. That one time's the profit. Like if you make 10 trades, all equal amounts, right? The same level, like the same units per trade. So let's say it's $100, whatever it is. You win 6 out of 10 times, that's a winner. You can't win every time. And then I think finally, one of the other things I realized in the movie is that success isn't always the most important thing. You know, you remember when he made the kids watch Cinderella?
Yeah, that was an interesting
because they weren't
scene in the movie.
Because they didn't have a level of humility. He wanted them to be just down to earth, like, hey, we're not better than people. And it's kind of the same thing in your financial life. You have to balance these things. And one of the things that I think probably in the last 5 years, you and I have both recognized that we've always viewed the financial plan as a tool to help predict and give a confidence level about retirement. But for our younger clients, this tool is morphed more into, okay, am I on track for retirement? Yes, I am. Now, can I have this balancing act between enjoying lifestyle and retiring and not just being so focused on saving every single dollar so I hoard all this money for when I'm 65? And whether that's because of what happened with COVID and people want the YOLO movement and all that stuff, if you only want to live once, that's cool. Make sure retirement's taken care of and balance your spending. And I think that's one of the things that, our financial plan actually does for people.
It does. And I think what we found is it's not the goal of most people to just have money. I mean, having the money is a necessary part of the whole equation to make it work. But when we especially talk with young people, you talk with people that want to get set up for success, really what they want is they always want to have the same lifestyle that they have, right? Very few people are actually just, my goal is to have the most amount of money I absolutely can have. Most people they want to do what's right. Like they want to be responsible with their money and be on track for good long-term outcome, but they also want to live too. And sometimes I think about our older clients that like the depression helped form their relationship with money. They're much more like save for a rainy day types of people where they're going to save more money and like hold on to it longer. But now it seems like younger people, like our generations, they want a balanced approach of living today and being prepared for the future, not just socking it all away.
We want a balanced approach until crap hits the fan and we realize how important those pennies are to us. My grandma, I remember when I was, what age was I? Maybe like third grade. We were studying the Depression in school and we had to do like an essay or something. I interviewed my great grandma about the Depression because she was a little girl during that time. She remembers like waiting in line to get food. They didn't have any money. Well, then my great grandpa, they had a junkyard. So, when your husband owns a junkyard and you both grew up during the Depression, guess what all the stuff in your house is from? The junkyard. In her house, she
accumulate a lot of stuff that way.
She had a stove and an oven that work, not one of each. Why would we buy one that both works when we have two individually that work? Like they save money. Our house, as soon as our dishwasher breaks, guess what we do?
Remodel your kitchen.
Oh, no.
New dishwasher.
Dude, we don't go that fast, but we get a new dishwasher. Like one of the, the little slide out trays broken now and the top flap has a crack in it. We're like, hey, time for a new dishwasher. Even though the dishwasher works perfectly fine.
Yeah, other than the components are breaking.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different deal.
This is the third one we've been through. But with that said, we've been ending every single show, Elias, this year. 2024 is our year of personalized advice. We want to challenge one common piece of financial advice or a financial myth and discuss it. This week, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topic. When is the best time to invest? I'm getting it more frequently now. Markets are back hovering around all-time highs, and people are saying, isn't now the worst time to invest? What's your take on that? Well, I mean, people are asking, should I invest now? I have a friend of mine. Is now a good time? I'm like, it was a good time yesterday.
And ultimately investing is at the most basic function, time horizon and goals for the money, right? And when I say young, if you're under 50, 55 years old and you put money in the market, do I believe in 20 years you're going to have done well by doing that? Yeah, I do believe that. Now, and I think you can run scenarios on this too, but even if you're to invest at market peaks and that's the only time you ever invest, over time you'll still be a successful investor. But I think you can do some simple strategies to kind of overcome the psychology, right? If you put a lump sum in and then your account goes down, now you're thinking, oh, that's a terrible idea. But that's why you can utilize strategies like dollar cost averaging and just deciding, hey, these are going to be the regular increments in which I invest and I put money into my accounts. And over time, it just, when it's automatic, it eliminates the decision. You just know you're going to do it, whether it's weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, however it is you set it up. Now, that being said, if you take a chunk of money one time every year and invest it over the next 40 years, are you going to do well over time? Yeah, I would assume over time you will do very well by doing that.
Here's how I actually think if people looked at investing. It would change how they make decisions. If they treated their investment portfolio like a tree farm.
A tree farm?
Think about it. When was the best time to plant a tree? Yesterday. If you happen to plant a tree, I happen to plant in my backyard. Well, number one, let's back up. Why a tree farm? Because over time, the trees are gonna grow. These are apple trees. Yeah. The more they grow, the more branches they have, the more income or fruit they produce in the future. So the more trees you have, the bigger your trees get, the more fruit you have. Did you want to plant your apple trees the day before you retire or 40 years?
Yeah, 40 years ago.
In over 40 years, we've been through droughts, derechos, tornadoes, excess rain, floods. Do you think your apple orchard would still be there?
Yes.
There would be some lean years, some bad years. But when somebody asks, is it a good time to invest? If you had a tree farm, when would you plant the tree?
Hopefully 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
But would you hadn't started. Should you start today? The answer is yes.
Yeah, if you want a tree farm and you don't have one, you should plant a tree. That's a good
Elias,
first step.
I planted 5 trees in my backyard, big ones. 6-inch calipers around. They brought a big tree spade in. 2 of them I did in 2019. 2 I did 4 months before derecho.
Did they survive?
Yeah. Everyone got uprooted. But if somebody would have told me, hey, we're going to have a derecho in August, or we're going to have a recession that we don't really know, but I think this August we're going to have a derecho, would I have thought twice about planting the trees?
Yeah, you would have.
I would have said, well, maybe we'll just wait till the end of August. And guess what happened? Well, now it's spring. Probably just do it next, now it's fall. We'll just do it next spring. Likely the trees never would have got planted. Now, my trees have character. I lost the top limb off of one. One's a little crooked, but I still have all the trees. And now they're a year bigger. I had an extra year growth in those trees because I didn't wait. So if you look at your money and treat it like a tree farm, you would have planted as many trees as you could yesterday and the day before. And that's an easy way to answer your question. When you're planting a garden, do people when they plant their garden start looking at the weather and predict what catastrophe we're going to have the next 3 to 5 months? No, they plant their garden.
Well, and you can't predict.
Just like you can't predict the stock market. It's not possible. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for listening. If you're not following us on social, you can get us at Facebook, X, YouTube, or you can go to btwellshow.com. I want to thank everybody for listening.